Can you believe it's been 2.5 years since we first came here for our first meeting?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
When I saw the throwback pics on Instagram, it's 2 years today, and I was like, oh my gosh, and you look at how much, how different you look, or how you spoke back then,
and how much more confident we've got as well.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think about when we stood as well, the election time, and the whole campaign, and it's been so long since that, almost 3 years. That's crazy.
I remember when we started the group chats and stuff, and we never met up before then, and we were just it was going off, the notifications are popping every second.
Why did you all want to become Welsh Youth Parliament members?
Personally, it was a really charged political time. I remember it was 2019, and everyone was talking about Brexit, and then nothing seemed to be going on about climate change, and I just got a bit angry, to be honest, because young people had opinions and they weren't being listened to at all. And I would have conversations in school, and people always said that young people didn't know what they were talking about. But I was having conversations, and all my friends had an opinion, but that didn't seem to be valued. So I wanted to make a contribution and stand up for what I believe in and what I think my friends believe in, and finally get our voices heard.
Yeah, it was the same for me, to be honest, because we didn't have a central place to voice our opinions. And as you said, we did have very strong opinions about what was happening at the time. We had the youth climate strikes happening, and then we were having people telling us, we didn't know what we were talking about. So to have, a platform for us to be able to stand on and actually represent the views of young people, I think it was really good, and able to actually have a conversation about those things.
Yeah, I agree, because I did a lot of volunteer work locally before the Youth Parliament, but I felt there was no way to get that to go anywhere, on a bigger scale. And I think the Youth Parliament, standing for the Youth Parliament, meant that I could help all these people that were coming together with different views and stuff, and get it more on a national level, and make sure that young people's voices were heard in Parliament, not just in their school and stuff, because there's a lot of young people with a lot of great things to say. There were a lot of people that are quite shy, so I think I stood to make sure that my friends who were quite shy also got a voice, and that I could get everyone heard on a bigger scale sort of thing.
Yeah, for me it's whenever I switched on the TV, or I watched the news, and I saw the people that were supposed to be our representatives and the politicians, they were never truly representing me. I never saw myself in them personally. And as we know, politics is something that's dominated by quite a single demographic of older, perhaps white and males. And I'm completely opposite to that. So seeing the opportunity of the Youth Parliament was something for me to almost have as a goal to work towards, and have perhaps be an inspiration to other people that look like me or that are in my community, to also take part in something that perhaps you wouldn't normally take part in, or you wouldn't normally think is an opportunity for you. And yeah.
And also the opportunity to speak to ministers and politicians and that sort of stuff, that seemed like something that really excited me, because I really wanted to, these are the people with power, and we get to talk to them and say what young people are thinking. And, it's really a great privilege almost to be able to get the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I agree. It shows that it's not just a talking shop, that we can actually talk to the people directly making decisions, not just, members of the Senedd, but also, the ministers making the decisions themselves. And I think it's important that ministers do take our views into account. For example, I remember the day before Kirsty Williams, who was then the Education Minister, was about to make a decision on cancelling exams and changing to assessments for this year. She had a meeting with us at about 48 hours notice, and she really did want to hear our views. So I think that was really important, because obviously those decisions affect us, so it's only right that we have some sort of say in them.
People are quite distanced from politics, and we're told we don't know, we don't know what we're talking about, and we don't understand political systems and stuff. But I think ministers actually taking notice of us and wanting to speak to us really made me feel empowered, and that my age and being a young person and being female didn't mean that I couldn't have political opinions and talk to people who had the opportunity to make change. It was quite empowering, and also just nice to know that we were being listened to, which is like the Youth Parliament made me feel like we were actually being listened to, and it wasn't just something that ministers had to do, talk to young people, like it was something that they wanted to do.
Sorry, you go.
And I was going to say, especially with like Votes 16, it's so great that we have this platform for young people to actually, you know, say their views and have that direct link to those ministers and to those politicians, because often there's other kind of youth platforms for kind of things, but it's not as direct. They don't have that kind of relationship that you have in the Youth Parliament with kind of the MSs and such. So yeah.
Was the Welsh Youth Parliament everything you thought it would be, or did you expect different?
I didn't know what I expected, because obviously we were the first ever Welsh Youth Parliament. But whatever it was amazing. And I feel like I've grown up with some of you people. Like when I first started, I think I was like 15 or 16 or something like that. I had a squeaky voice. And yeah, and we've all kind of developed together. And now we're kind of in our last years of school and that sort of stuff. And yeah, I've got some of my closest friends as part of the Youth Parliament, and it's just been amazing.
Yeah, like you said, growing up with each other, you're completely right there. Obviously, we had the meetings and everything, but I think being able to actually have conversations as well with young people and actually have a platform, not only with the meetings important, but actually having conversations and making sure that young people did feel represented, I think that was the most important thing. And I feel like we did that a lot, because we had the 3 meetings. We had the 3 supposed to be 3 residential meetings. We had 3 national meetings. And when we had the first residential meeting in February 2019, and we were all sat in here for the first time we were all meeting each other nationally. And it was just really powerful being able to listen to everyone's 2-minute speeches and to listen to, you know, voices from all sorts of different backgrounds, people that, you know, I'd never met before from different parts of Wales. And it was really powerful just to hear, you know, different opinions on issues that I hadn't, you know, ever really thought about. So I think that was really powerful.
I think, as Gwion said, like we were all from different backgrounds, like all from different parts of Wales, but we all wanted the same thing. We wanted to make change for young people, and I think it was really nice because regardless of like how different we were all different ages, genders, we all came together and like had a great time and did really good stuff. Like we made brilliant change, and I think it was great to have other young people that were also involved, like interested in politics and making a change. And I made lots of friends that like I didn't expect to have. I didn't expect to have like 59 new friends, you know. And like some of the people that I've met are like some of my closest friends that will be my friends for like life now. And I think I expected it to be more like, you know, formal and structured, but really there was a lot of like space for us to sort of do what we wanted to do. And kind of like make the change we wanted to do. And if we wanted to like suggest something to work on, we were like allowed to do that. And I think it was really nice that we had those residential times to make friends and like you know, share ideas, as well as like the formal meetings, which is like good life experience. That is like things that a lot of people don't get to experience. So I think it was like a nice mix. Whereas when I signed up, I thought it was going to be kind of more formal than it was, but it was kind of a nice mixture of both.
Yeah, personally, I was kind of worried that I wouldn't, because I was quite young when I signed up, I was worried that I wouldn't like know enough. I mean, there were people that were studying politics for like A-levels, and then there was me, like I'd never even kind of entered anything into like the world of politics. So it was quite a contrast, but upon entering, it was like, there was like no difference. It was so seamless, and like, even those that had that kind of knowledge and that perhaps were studying it and were really looking into politics, they were able to just kind of like educate the rest of us. And I think we were all educating each other because we've all obviously, like as we said, come from different backgrounds and have such a diverse range of experiences that we were able to kind of share with each other and relate to each other as well and like empathize upon. So I think that's what was really strong. And I think especially with young people, because I mean from like 11 to 18, there can be quite a wide gap between kind of knowledge and like experiences. But I mean, especially with us, I didn't even notice it. It was like we all kind of knew each other from like such a long time. It was kind of weird, that first meeting, I think. But yeah, I'm just glad that I kind of met you guys. I mean, even just being here, it's like, it kind of feels like a second home. It's like, I mean, I remember when I walked in, it was so big. It felt like, I was like, gosh, it's like Narnia. But yeah, I'm just so glad I met you guys and stuff.
One of my favourite things was speaking to people who I completely disagreed with on like big politics level. But one of my favourite things about the Youth Parliament was that it was such like positive politics. It wasn't about political parties and arguing and blah, 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 blah. It was about us coming together and us agreeing, okay, climate change is important, mental health is important, these things are important. What is the best way we're going to do to tackle this? And I just loved that because we all came together and we all agreed that these issues were so important and we were all so passionate about them. And everyone just got along and, you know, from all backgrounds, people completely different to myself. And we could, you know, unify around these issues that affected young people.
What are the 3 moments that stand out to you from when we were members?
It's a bit tricky.
Yeah, it's a hard
Only
question
3,
because
isn't
we
it?
had so many highlights.
I think one would be the first time we all like sat in the chamber. Like it was like amazing because like just the energy and everyone was so excited and like we kind of like, you know, had just met, but like we were so comfortable with each other and like we all had these big speeches prepared and I think that was like quite powerful. But there's also a lot of like smaller moments that like mean a lot to me from Youth Parliament, like meeting friends and doing the things we did like outside of like being in here, like playing games in, you know, and all the things, the quizzes and all the like fun things we did together and like all the conferences and stuff. So I don't know if there's 3 moments exactly because I think I need a long time to think about 3 moments, but there were some really good moments in both like the regional ones and like the national ones. So I think I've got different like 3 favourite moments with different people. I could like, you know, give 3 moments for each person, I think.
For me, I think it was one of the first times when we appeared on the news. I remember like my friends from that weren't in the Youth Parliament that were sending me like clips on Snapchat, and it was so kind of just funny to see people like. It was almost like the first time people really kind of took an interest in this type of stuff. And I think just that's what's so important, that's what's so nice about the Youth Parliament is that even something as simple as just young people seeing other young people on the news, you know, they kind of immediately engage with that. And it was really like nice and empowering to know that, you know, BBC News, ITV Wales were actually taking an interest into Youth Parliament and were really taking the time out to listen to us, to have like, you know, different like speeches with us, individual moments with us. And I think, I mean, for me personally, I kind of developed a relationship with them over time. I mean, they still kind of call me now if they need a news piece or something like that. So to know that we've established those relationships and thanks to Youth Parliament, we have that kind of network of like media that contact us when they kind of need something like that, I think is really, really nice and really important. But it's also something that you wouldn't get on a regular basis. I personally wouldn't get that from school. So to know that you can get that from joining this type of platform, I think is amazing.
Yeah, I think one of my favourite moments was just like speaking to my friends in school, and not just my friends, people who I don't speak to in school, about the Youth Parliament and the stuff we were doing, the work we were doing, the issues that were important to us. Because you know, so many young people say, I'm not interested in politics, but then I start talking about the stuff that we were doing. You know, we were tackling plastic pollution, we were mental health, change to the curriculum, things that affected our lives. And just the way that people would just want to talk and say their opinion and like say how important these things were, I felt really empowered and privileged to be in the position where I was part of this Youth Parliament where we were trying to make those changes.
Yeah, I think my 3 favourite moments would be, well, the first would be when we all came in here for the first time and sat down for our residential meeting, and we just, you know, talked about anything and everything, and we had the debates at, you know, the end of each issue, and that was, you know, really interesting. The second would probably be our residential meeting in October 2019 when we presented our life skills of the curriculum report. It was so refreshing and quite, you know, relieving to be able to, you know, deliver that report and for the recommendations to be actually acted upon. That was, you know, really satisfying to see, and to see that, you know, young people's issues had been actually acted upon, you know, after we'd talked about them. And then my last would be probably going on Wales Live. Like Angel said, we had loads of media opportunities, and I got the opportunity to go on Wales Live, and that was incredible. I went on with a few MSs. So did you get any unique experiences while you were members as well?
I remember during the pandemic, a special moment for me was when we got to speak to the government over Zoom. We were speaking to Mark Drakeford and the First Minister and all the ministers, and we got to share our opinions and stuff, and they were listening to us. And this was height of the pandemic when, you know, Mark Drakeford would go on like every Friday to talk to the whole of Wales in his pulpit. And getting the opportunity to speak to him at that point about the experience of young people was quite a special moment. And another special moment I had was having the opportunity to interview Carwyn Jones, the former First Minister. So I got to talk to two First Ministers, which was quite fun.
Yeah, for me, I was invited to be kind of like a special guest alongside the Mayor of Cardiff for this panel event. So that was really exciting for me because, I mean, usually as well, you wouldn't expect a child effectively to be a special guest, especially like alongside such an important figure. Dan Diath, who's been monumental, especially for BAME people here in Wales and Cardiff. It was so kind of just empowering to be alongside such an influential role model. And then to also have these young people who were looking up to me and who were so invested in asking questions and stuff. For me, that was kind of one of the first times I really kind of realised almost the weight of the role that we have and how kind of the title we have isn't just something that you kind of just put on the end of our names. It's something that people do respect. It is something that people kind of do like pay attention to. So for me, that was a big, unique moment.
Yeah, I think it wasn't just like the opportunities we got in the Youth Parliament as well. It was like the other things that came from it, like the news and the, you know, the opportunities to be like on television and all these things that a lot of young people don't get to experience. And also like the opportunity to speak to ministers in lockdown was amazing because you could say that we were making a direct impact on like decisions that were happening right there. Like the pandemic was a big thing for a lot of us, and I think being able to talk to ministers as it was happening was really important for us to know that we were like getting our voices heard. It sometimes got me through as well, like in the lockdown, because it was quite hard to be at home all the time, and I knew that I was still doing something important, so that was quite a good, like, unique opportunity to have.
I don't know about you guys, but I was hugely inspired by so many members. Like everyone inspired me all the time. Like I remember, like all these speeches, your speech on Cofiwch Tryweryn, your speech on Black History, and your speech on mental health. Like I was so inspired by all of those, and you know, I got quite emotional in some of those speeches because I thought, you know, you really spoke from the heart and really said what you thought, and I just, you all inspired me.
Yeah, I do feel that we had a really big impact on the three issues that we chose. And the other, you know, of course, every issue that was, you know, brought into the forefront. But particularly, you know, like I said, when we were presenting the report for life skills and the curriculum, it felt really empowering to be able to deliver the recommendations that we wanted to see implemented. Because we were representing young people and we were representing their concerns and what they wanted to see changed about the curriculum. So I think it was really vital, you know, to see that change being implemented, and it was quite, you know, it was a relief to see that.
How do you think, having had the experience of being a Welsh Youth Parliament member, how do you think that will benefit you in the future?
Like Angel said, you know, with job interviews or anything that requires you to, you know, be pragmatic and, you know, talk about yourself or talk about anything really, it's, you know, it's so helpful. At the moment we're doing head boy or head girl elections at the moment, and that's been a huge help, you know, being able to speak in front of people, talk about different issues that affect people and actually being able to represent them on those issues. You know, being in the Youth Parliament has been ever so helpful in that.
Yeah, I think even having like the confidence to speak in front of people, like when I first joined, like I remember the first speech like in the Senedd, like I was so nervous. Like, I didn't even want to stand up, like I was so nervous, I was so scared. And now like I will go and speak in front of people now. I'll like do news reports and things, and like obviously I still get a bit nervous, but it's like giving me the chance to be able to have sort of more self-confidence to just speak to people. And I think in my like uni application, like it was kind of like important to have that in there, like because of all the skills and like unique opportunities it had. and I've had like work experience with my MP because of it, because me and my MP like work a lot together now, and I think we will still, even though my youth parliament role is finished. So I think it's just helped me sort of like have experience that I wouldn't have got otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me in terms of the confidence and stuff. Definitely helped me come out of my shell more and kind of have those skills and qualities, such as even just like teamwork, leadership and stuff, that I've kind of developed due to being in this role. And I also think, I mean, for me, I have my A-level options, and I've chosen government and politics, which, if you asked me like 3 years ago, would you choose that? I'd probably said no. I had like no interest in politics at all, and now I'm choosing to study it for my A-levels, which is such a big leap. And I've genuinely learned so much, being in the youth parliament, from you guys, from the MSs, and just from other influential figures, the adults and the young people around us. And I'm so grateful for the opportunities that we've had and for those kind of learning experiences, because I feel like they really have shaped kind of who we are today. And that seems like a big statement, but it really, like, I kind of look at myself like when we started, I really see kind of the good change that has happened due to it.
I think I've learned so much about public speaking, how to kind of speak sort of more clearly and slowing down when you're speaking and all that sort of stuff. I think I'm better at that now. I think I've improved my ability to make friends. I feel like I'm better at doing that now because I've had so many experiences here, 59 new friends. And as well, things like empathy. I think my empathy has improved in terms of listening to people and trying to feel how they feel, and putting yourself in other people's shoes and seeing different sides of an argument. Is, nothing is ever black and white. There's always a grey area. And I think, I think I've become more empathetic in that sense, which is something I'm so glad I've done.
I definitely agree with it, and actually being open-minded to all sorts of issues and viewpoints and issues as well, because I think the most important thing is that we increased, how much young people were represented in democracy. We obviously had votes at 16. Young people were able to vote for the first time. 16 and 17-year-olds were able to vote for the first time in May this year. And that was incredible to see people that, I would have never have thought that would have voted come up to me and said, oh yeah, I went to vote today. Or, oh yeah, I'm not sure who to vote for. Can you, introduce me to the parties and so forth. So that was really empowering to see that people, wanted to take an interest, and even they didn't align, even if they didn't align with a party specifically, they did care about these issues like the environment, mental health, and they wanted to know where, politicians stand on those. So to be able to give young people a platform in democracy, I think was really important, and then that led on then to being able to vote at 16, which I think was really powerful.
It was important. An important thing that I learned was that you can be friends with people and you can do good work with people even if you don't have the same political views. Because before I joined, I thought, oh, I can't, I could never work with someone who has a different political view than me. But really, I've got so many friends and done so much good work with people who have completely different political views to me. But when it comes down to issues that directly affect young people, like mental health and, climate change, etc., like all of us had the same views and we all wanted to make a positive change. And I think, I've made amazing friends, as I said before, like amazing friends that I'll have for the rest of my life. And I've developed my public speaking skills, confidence, even like my ability to just go out and do things that I wouldn't usually do, new opportunities, even learning the Welsh language, being around you guys has really helped me with that, living in an area where Welsh isn't really that popular, but being around you guys has helped me develop my Welsh language skills, and it's also helped me just, learn how to be more confident in myself and know that I've got a voice, which is quite nice.
I think quite often in the modern world, especially with things like social media, we are shown that there's more that divides us than brings us together. We're seeing, okay, so there's different religions, there's different political standpoints. These people will never mix, these people will never get along. But when you actually spend time with people who are different to you, who have different religions, different backgrounds, different wealth, different political standpoints, you actually do realize there is more that unites us. We agree on more things than we disagree on. And that has been a great realization for me.
Definitely, being able to talk to, like you said, people from all sorts of different, walks of life. I think it was really eye-opening, and I think that's the most important thing, because we were all there to, represent young people and make sure that the issues they cared about were acted upon. So, to be able to come together from all walks of life, it meant that we could actually look at those issues, look at the different standpoints, and then we could actually work together. And like you said, it didn't matter, what we thought about, political things and our political standpoint. We were all there to make, growing up in Wales, a better place.
Do you think we made a difference?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I think you can even just look online, to be honest. I think a quick Google search would show that the kind of difference that we've made. There's so many articles that you can see of the Youth Parliament done this, or the Youth Parliament spoke that, or individual members. Because sometimes, it doesn't even have to be kind of as a whole of the Youth Parliament, but I think each one of us has gone on away from the Youth Parliament to do great things as well and to make an impact. And even if it's not perhaps on a national basis, people have done stuff in their local communities that are so great and so amazing. And working alongside, like you said, your MS to kind of continue to do those great things. And I think that's what the important thing is that even whilst our time is finished, we've still gone away and continue to do the work, which just shows how much it actually meant to us that we can still do it away from that kind of, platform where it's encouraged. So, yeah.
I think we all said as well that young people have come up and asked us about political views and told us, like Gwion said, who they want to vote for, etc. And I think it's really nice to know that we could be role models, which was really great, but also someone who's very approachable to young people. And I think if all of us, got a couple of people involved in politics more than they were before, then it shows that we've made a change, because it doesn't need to be a big national level. Even getting a couple more people to vote means that we're making positive change for the future. So I really do think that we've done great things, and we should all be proud of ourselves, because we had a great time. So
I agree.
That made me very happy, in which I felt like we'd made a difference, was that in the election earlier this year, some of the big parties that stand here put stuff we said, our ideas, into their manifestos. And I thought that was just amazing, because we're actually affecting these political parties. They're listening to us, and then they want to win our votes by putting our ideas in their manifestos to enact upon. And also our recommendations to government, many of them have been acted upon or going to be acted upon, and have influenced the way they're thinking about the future of Wales. And that's I feel so proud to be part of that.
Exactly, and something you said about the manifestos there, I think every single one of the major political parties in Wales, they had a youth manifesto as well, outlining their policies for young people. Of course, it's great that, you could say that they're just appealing to young people, but even then that's a great thing, because getting young people involved in politics can only be a good thing, and increasing representation and making sure that the issues we care about are acted upon. That's why we're here, and that's why we're members of the Welsh Youth Parliament.